Hi guys, Penny Rose Journals, how you doing? Today I am just using up some of those secondary layers of the decorative napkins. Somebody asked me, what do I do with all the other layers? Because I said that I keep them and use them in other projects. So I thought, well, I'll just do a video and show you. I'm sure there's other videos out there like this. We all do the same sort of things with them, I think. One, they actually are handy to just have on your desk. Occasionally, as crafters, we have a mess or a spill or something, and just a bunch of these is just a handy clean-up tool. Yeah, they don't often get used like that, but sometimes, needs must. But most of the time, what I do is stamp on them. Now, you've just seen me split these into two piles. I just took the ones that had no print from the top layer of the napkin, because some of them have 3 layers, and often those are quite good ones, and the ink bleeds through from the top layer into the second layer. I use those second layers a lot, just the same way I would use the top layer. It just gives a more muted sort of look to what I'm doing, and I enjoy that. So I put those aside, and I've just kept the white ones out, the ones that don't have any bleed through. They're just plain. And what I usually do with them is stamp on them, and then use them the same way I would use the top layer of a napkin. Because you could use coloured ink if you really wanted to, and make them, almost as bright and cheerful as the top layers. But I tend to use just either black or brown. This is timber brown. As I've said before, my stamp pads are quite old. I've actually got one on order, but there's just a black one because my black is not performing very well anymore. I've used up an entire ink refill on it, and it still doesn't really work that well anymore. It's time it was replaced. So I've got a new one of those on order. I still have a bit of my timber brown refill, and you'll see me put some more ink in this stamp pad just now, because that stamp did not come out very well. Yeah, so apparently I'm going to have to get a new brown one as well. I think I might go for something different this time. We'll see. Anyway, back to what we're doing. Getting sidetracked on my stamp pads. Yeah, I use the stays on for this. Just any permanent ink will do. And the reason I use the permanent ink is because if you use water-based ink, if you're going to use this the way I do generally, which is to put it over things with PVA glue, it'll run if it's not a permanent ink. So that's the reason for the permanent ink. So yeah, like you see here, this works much better this time around, but still it's not great. So I will persevere. Anyway, I am going to just let you watch this because, there's not much to say. I'm stamping on a napkin. It will go through your napkin, obviously, which is why I'm doing it on a book here. I just don't want to get ink all over my mat. It's messy enough as it is. So yeah, that's the reason I'm doing it on top of book pages. A bit later on, I go and grab one of those sheets of foam, because I have a couple in my stash here, and do some stamping on that just to see if it makes a great deal of difference. It did make a little difference with the particular stamp I was using at that time, because I wasn't getting a good impression in the middle. All my stamps are non-name brand stamps, so yeah, some of them are good, some of them not so good, but they do the job. The foam sheet, didn't make an appreciable difference, but it did make a tiny difference, I guess, so I kept using it until I was finished. So anyway, guys, enjoy. I'll come back when something else happens. Okay guys, well that was the process, and here's what I made with them. Just using my usual PVA and water mix, I did the same thing I would do with the top layer of a napkin and put them over book pages. You can use them for all sorts of things, but I just happen to be into this at the moment. But it gives you an idea of how it looks, and I really like it. I probably like this more than the ones done with the top layer of the napkin, because this is sort of very grungy and industrial looking, and that's just my thing. So these ones I just covered with simply the plain napkin, and they turned out really nicely. It's a great way to showcase your book pages and give them a bit of extra strength for whatever you want to do with them. You could even cover just something and put it as a page in your journal. I don't think it would be real easy to write on, but it's certainly interesting to look at and touch. They have sort of a fabricy feel when they're done. They're very rough because of the creases in the napkin, and they take ink really, really well. The first one here, I'm just going to ink up both of these singular envelopes, and the first one I do with distress ink. My ink pads again are quite old and quite dry, so you don't really see a lot going on, but when you see the photos at the end, you can see the ink picks up on all the little ridges and it looks quite grungy and nice. The second one I actually ink with Distress Oxide in Hickory Smoke, and I love that one. It's kind of a grey colour, and yeah, it just appeals to me greatly. I really like it. So another thing I did with them, and you can see it at the bottom there, is I made some of the lovely Bonny's kookie paper. That's Bonny and Clive on YouTube. I made some of her paper, and I used napkins over the top. Now I usually use tissue, the sewing tissue or something of that ilk, but I had some napkins, and they, funnily enough, were the first thing I used before I started using sewing tissue, and it works fine and gives you that really rough surface again that you can grunge up with whatever you have handy. So anyway guys, I hope you enjoyed this project. I hope it gives you some ideas. You could use them for just about anything you would use a top napkin for. So sorry about that, it decided to hail just as I was finishing up. So I had to stop and yeah, record a little extra bit. So there you go, there is the one that is inked up, and I will do one with Hickory Smoke now. And yeah, like I say, I hope you'd enjoy this. Yeah, I was asked what I did with them, so this is basically just a little idea of what I might get up to. So anyway guys, I hope you have a wonderful day. Thanks so much for coming along. It's been great crafting with you, and I will see you again next time. Enjoy. Bye.